This episode of the Buildout is brought to you by Farmers Gin. Whether you are building a bar, you currently are operating a bar, or you just run a bar at home, you need to have a martini on your menu, and that martini deserves Farmers Gin. Farmers Gin is created by the same amazing people that created Michter's Bourbon. Every single bar deserves a great gin, and Farmers Gin is perfect for creating all of the classic gin cocktails. Farmers Gin is made in Idaho at the first organic distillery in the United States. It's made using regenerative, organic, certified grain that's grown on a family farm. The regenerative approach they use supports soil health, biodiversity, and also just creates a really delicious gin. You can learn more by following Farmers Gin on their socials, at Farmers Gin, or heading to farmersgin.com to learn more. From the VinePair Podcast Network, this is The Buildout, and I'm your host, Adam Teeter. Today on the show, we're talking to Nicolas Torres, bartender from San Francisco, and the bar we're talking about is True Laurel. Mm-hmm. Nicolas, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, obviously, True Laurel is a bar that has won so many accolades over the past few years, especially. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to you for that.
Thank you.
To begin with, but I feel like also is a bar that really has become very special, not just in San Francisco, but in the country as a whole. So I can't wait to hear the story about it. Before we jump into it, though, you told me before we started, you're a lifelong San Franciscan, right? Born and raised?
Yeah. I was born in San Francisco. Definitely lived in other parts of the Bay. Mm-hmm. Come from, I don't know if it's a common story, but my mom was born in Oakland, actually, and raised in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. My father comes from Sinaloa. He immigrated to the States several times, actually, because he was deported a few times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like my parents' story has like made such an interesting impact on my career. I reflect on it now, actually.
Yeah.
But somehow they met in San Francisco at a bakery and had 3 kids together.
Wow.
And so I'm the youngest. But we're all still there, pretty much. I mean, I'm in San Francisco. My brother's in San Francisco. My sister's in Oakland, which is across the Bay.
Yeah.
And my father and mother are in the South Bay, essentially. So Bay Area represent.
Wow. So did you always know growing up in San Francisco that you wanted to be in this industry?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, always know that you wanted to be stuck in San Francisco.
Well, I feel like a lot of people, look, I will tell you this, from my times in California, people from California love California, man. Like, a lot of people don't.
It's hard to
leave.
beat, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know walking in here, just telling you how much I love New York, and, New York's such an anomaly. Like, there's no city like New York. Just population. I mean, like Mexico City, right? It's like, you can't even really fathom the population there.
Yeah.
But nowhere in the world do you see this many people walking by each other and interacting from so many different backgrounds as New York.
Yeah.
But once you live in the beauty and calmness of California, it's really hard to weigh what's more special. I don't know, but I love visiting here. But I definitely think that my roots are in California, and really Northern California.
Yeah.
I don't feel the same way about Southern California. I do love it. And I definitely don't feel the same way about Central California. No. I mean, Central Valley provides a lot of resources for us, but it's not entertainment and how I want to live. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the industry?
Are we speaking of the bar industry?
Let's talk about it. How did you start?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just giving this class down in DC, sort of talking about my upbringing and how we got to our approach and philosophy at True Laurel. And I can't help but sort of reflect on the whole path these days. Being raised in a mom and pop bakery really had an impact on me. Mm-hmm. My parents met at a bakery. They decided to open a bakery. I don't think I've ever heard them say the words hospitality or service. They didn't get into it as a dream. Mm-hmm. They got into it because that's what they knew at the time. And so many people fall into this industry because it has open doors. You don't need a lot of experience to get into service. If you're open-minded, somebody will teach you.
Yeah.
And that's really special, actually. But I was misguided in much of my upbringing, I think, and service was always there. So I've worked in bar industry, cafe industry, bakery industry, counter service, sports bar. But I would say that really my first dose was working at my parents' bakery as like a little kid, or at least seeing them work.
Yeah.
This was like a counter service space, and they didn't have SOPs. They opened the bakery, regulars came in, they smiled, they talked, and they left. It was a place that the regulars felt safe and kept coming back, and there was repetition in it. And I think that was like really my first dose. Yeah. But as far as like bartending goes, my first bartending gig, or not bartending, first time being in a bar working was actually a karaoke bar.
Are you in charge of renting the rooms, or was it that kind of karaoke bar? Or was it just like open bar and there was just one?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't rooms for rental. It was one big room. Everybody came up. I was the KJ.
I love it.
Karaoke jockey. It was in the Polk Gulch, which was really the gay bar district of the time. I mean, you had the Castro, but Polk Gulch was the queer district. People from all walks of life. And so that's where I really first started working in the bar industry and saw tips and walked home with cash. From there, one of the most impactful jobs, actually, if I could step back a little bit, you guys have
sure.
it? Yeah,
that's fine.
So didn't really have a good time through high school dropout, got my GED, which is equivalent. And my brother was working for a nonprofit organization in San Francisco. And he brought me in to be a youth leader, essentially. It was like a nonprofit that dispatched out youth to work with youth in CBOs or on site, like in like public schools. And I got placed in the Rec and Park department under a program called the Natural Areas Program. And the focus was native habitat restoration. And it was an amazing job for me at the time because it kept me outdoors. I was always kind of a outdoor kid. Grew up just like, I was a graffiti kid, really. I was like a young graffiti kid. I spent all my time outdoors in like the weirdest places. I always loved this weird connection between like urban blight and beauty, like nature where city hits. So kind of always been a city boy. And this program got me to be outside and take kids to natural areas of San Francisco and teach them about the history of the flora and the landscape of San Francisco. And really get a deep history of San Francisco through those stories and open up their minds to like these natural areas. And while doing it, I also got all this education on the plants and landscape of San Francisco. So which really plays later into how True Laurel functions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really like, I mean, you learn so much about the history of San Francisco or any place that you would do that.
Yeah.
It was a real natural fit for me. And it kind of kept me going in education for a while. And I worked in education, I worked in aftercare programs. And when I was talking to you earlier about like getting my story in line is because I feel like I've lived so many different lives and had so many different passions. And to answer your question a long time ago, no, I didn't think I was like probably going to end up in this industry.
Yeah.
But it's because I've always kept a sort of diverse range of things I love and like things I want to explore. And I would say that my first passion was I wanted to be an artist. But I don't always talk about it in this story because the art practice was something I was always doing.
Yeah.
And the art practice was always something that never brought in a check. So, I was working in environmental education, environmental justice, but I still had to get like service jobs on the side sometimes. And around 2006, karaoke job is done. That was a couple wild summers. I started working at a cafe that posted they were looking for like a youth leadership / like cafe manager position that was into the like connections of food systems. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so I applied for this job, and it's a bakery, and it was called Mission Pie. It was a really influential small job that I had. It wasn't even a small job, it was my job. But the owners had opened this bakery out of this program they started about 30 miles south. They had, with other partners and connection to the Ohlone Stewardship down there, opened a plot of land and of some farmland and converted it into an educational farm, essentially. Cool. And so at first it was taking kids from Mission High, very central high school and public high school in San Francisco. And if kids wanted to join this program, occasionally they would go on these field trips, see how food was grown organically, and then they would sort of show that it can go from soil to a plate by making pies. And they had a little farm stand where they would raise money for the program going back that they would have on the side of Highway 1, where the kids would help make these pies. From that, they opened this bakery. And it was the first place, and these two owners, Karen Heisler and Kristen Rubin, were so like under like the Alice Waters umbrella. They were just like, Northern California, there's no reason that we don't celebrate what we have going on here.
Yeah.
And it's really sad that we have these food deserts in San Francisco, a place that is literally surrounded by produce, surrounded by small farmers, and really the Central Valley that feeds the rest of the world. Why are like people eating canned processed foods at the liquor store when like we have like internal beautiful community farms and all these things? So they wanted to give kids connections to their food. And it's the first time I ever worked in a job where my boss was teaching me these things and thinking about stuff like equitable pay and like all these things that we really strive for today in our bar systems. And so that was a really amazing space. And all the while, if I worked the morning shift, if I got off at 5, my closest watering hole was this place called The Attic. It's no longer around, but The Attic was a notorious dive bar on 24th Street at the 24th Street train station. Shotgun, little to no lights, black walls, covered in graffiti, maybe a 15-seat bar, opens up in the back, smelled god-awful, had a happy hour from 3 to 8 p.m. that had a sandwich board that said $3 cocktails. Not what cocktails.
Just
$3.
Whatever. Wow.
Well, obviously. But I started playing records there because one of my friends bartended. And at that time, late 2000s, early 2000s, the cocktail renaissance had started, right?
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't say that it was really making a mark till like 2005, but, the Jacques and, the Fitzgeralds and like these guys like had worked in some like really classic spots. But Urban and Branch, I think, opened in 2005. And Beretta, which was 2 blocks away from The Attic, opened in 2008. And so I started working part-time at The Attic in 2007, making shitty sidecars, I actually started practicing making old fashions with just a sugar cube and bitters, but there was definitely plenty of people that muddled the orange, which is not bad, to be honest. And that place was like a sweatbox. The kids loved it. It was such like a music institution too. Like all the local bands would like be there. I didn't even know who they were half the time. A lot of the people that worked there were all in bands. It was just like, there's a big segregation between like the dive bar community and the cocktail community, especially at that time.
Yeah.
Now it's overlapping a little bit more, and everybody that works in fine dining or cocktail community always ends up at dive bars now.
Yeah.
but it's not always the other way around, right?
Interesting. Yeah, totally.
So I was working there making my like $3 Manhattans, and a good friend, Gabe, came in. Beretta had just opened, and he was, I believe, started as a bar back. And he's like, dude, come by like on your break and come get a drink, you know? And I came by. He wasn't bartender yet, but he's like, can I make a drink, you know, to the bartender? I forget what famous bartender it was. You know, I think that had opened Beretta, and then Ryan kind of took it over quickly. And he made me a Park Swizzle. And, you know, there was like a fresh sprig of mint on it, some bitters, and really the fresh lime juice. I mean, like at the attic, we definitely had the bottled crappy juice.
Yeah.
And, or just sweet and sour.
Yeah.
And I had that drink and I was like, I mean, I think to obviously some people listening to this, you know, 2008 is a long time ago, but like I was late, I feel like, in the cocktail world there, because the Renaissance, like, you know, it started here with milk and over there with bourbon. Like, like it was San Francisco and New York at that time.
It was.
And New Orleans, right? But the talk was really the two coasts. And so I remember thinking, I had that drink and I said, this is the best drink I've ever had. It was like a damn Park Swizzle. And I remember thinking at that point, I was like, I should probably be a little more like open-eyed about what's going on right now. You know, like, do I want to be in a bar, for one? Do I want to be in this dark bar? But the funny thing is the attic was the first time that I said to myself, maybe I want to run a bar.
Interesting. Why?
I was dumb, ignorant. But also this place was old school. They paid all the bartenders under the books. You know, you pretty much did your shift. You got paid a certain amount cash from the drawer for an hour, and you also took your tips. And then you logged it. So like, I'm just like looking at this guy's spreadsheets. I'm looking how they order, and I'm like, man, this is easy. If you do it like old school and corrupt, this is the best job ever. And I'm watching like all these kids come in, you know, once the happy hour is done, the old guys are done, gone for their $3 drinks, because like they go to $5 and they don't want to afford them anymore.
Yeah.
The kids will come in and that place would just get packed and sweaty, and they had DJs. And I'm like, this guy's pumping cash in my mind.
Yeah.
I thought he was. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, who knows?
You know, I was like looking at the books and like being like, whoa, they rang a lot tonight. I saw revenue. And that's like that's what you do when you're like a bartender at another place. Like, you think like the owner's rich because you see revenue. You know, you're like, dude, we rang 12K that night.
Right.
What I would do with 12K.
Right.
You know, like not knowing like the costs that go into every day of running a business.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, that was the first place. I had talked to my brother about it. Actually, I was like, dude, we should try to buy this bar. And my brother was, who had practiced law, was like, I'm into it. It definitely didn't come true, but you know, we thought about it for a while. I actually politely got let go of that job. And
I think you say politely, which is
they were like, one day they were just like, you know, we don't know if like you're still a fit here. And I really think it was because they overheard me wanting to buy the bar. I was stupid, man. Like, but
I think you're trying to do a hostile takeover.
yeah, I'm just like looking,
go.
I'm like going through their spreadsheets, which is like a binder of, you know, like lined paper, pencil marks. From that job though, the first cocktail program I ever did actually kind of came from that job. There was a regular named Joe, and he had a spot down the street called Emmy's Spaghetti Shack, which is now still around and in the hands of an East Coaster, this guy Mike Irish, actually, that worked at a few bars in town. And Emmy's is amazing now. But Joe was partnering on another bar down the street on 24th Street, and it was 24th is a very interesting train station, major thoroughfare of the Mission District. Mm-hmm. It's super old school. It's like inherently and proudly Latino, and it's also where all the protection lies. And so there's been like different waves of sort of businesses coming in and out, but it wants to kind of keep to its soul. Mm-hmm. And so it's been really interesting. And at this point, this guy's like trying to open this cocktail bar on 24th Street. And there had been like one other maybe farm to table place open, and even that place had a hard time. But it was called Zoe's, and it was a pretty casual neighborhood bar, and that was the first time that someone was like, you put the menu together. So I really started like doing the chops on my classics and things like that, and put together, I think, like an 8 cocktail menu. All I remember is that it had a Corpse Reviver 1 on it.
Okay.
It's like, I'm proud of that. Because like the Corpse Reviver 2 was so popular at the time. Like everybody was ordering that drink. And I'm like, nobody knows about the 1. And it's delicious. Equal parts. If you do it equal parts, vermouth, brandy, and Calvados. That's it.
The best.
Simple. It's like butter. What happened after that? I got...
Yeah, what year are we in now? We're like in the...
We're like 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. And then soon after that, I kind of like hopped around a few jobs. I tried working in some like a private club. It was called The Battery. It's still around. I think I did like 2 shifts. It wasn't for me. I also had gotten like extremely sick. I remember this was like a big part of like why I got my next job. I had developed some stomach issues actually that like lived with me for almost 4 months, and I lost a ton of weight, and I was kind of miserable, and working far from home sounded like a hard thing to do. And I got a call from a friend that Dalva Hideout was looking for a bartender. Hideout was the cocktail bar in the back of Dalva. Dalva was a dive bar up front. Hideout is opened in 2007, so like a little bit behind Bourbon and Branch. It was started by Eric Reichborn, who owned Dalva, and Todd Smith, who was one of the OGs of Bourbon and Branch, and those two plus Ryan went on to open ABV.
Okay.
Eric is still the owner of Dalva, along with some other partners, my buddy Eric Ochoa. They have now made the front the cocktail bar and the back more of the casual bar. But back in the day, this was like one of the coolest, I guess speakeasies.
Yeah.
It wasn't advertised. Like you walked into the dive bar and then you're like, what's that room back there? You know, but you didn't need a passcode. You didn't. There
was no phone booth.
There's no phone booth. Nothing like that. You just walked into a room. But some of the coolest cocktailing was happening back there. And the reason I got the job there, I don't know if I should tell the story actually.
Please do.
But
Then you should.
I'll put it simply. A big inspiration of mine, and actually was a business partner of mine for a little bit, Claire Sprouse, who had a bar here called Hunky Dory in Brooklyn for a little bit, was bartending Monday nights, and she was like the celebrity bartender in San Francisco at that time, at least to me. And they needed a bartender to work the same night as her. And there were some other candidates, and let's just say that she didn't want to work with the person at the time. And so I got the job working up front. And that other person is a good friend of mine as well. And so I got the job working up front, and Dalva was kind of like one of these places where a lot of the people that worked up front also worked in the back.
Okay.
There were some people like Claire that were just like specifically in the back, like just doing cocktails, but the front was awesome too, man. Like it cranked, and we had a cocktail program up there. It was just simple Tom Collins, margaritas, really chill. And then in the back, we got a little geeky. But the thing about the back is when you work during the week, you were a one-person show. And so the room could probably fit. There was a little upstairs, and when it was packed, like we didn't have a bar back. There wasn't a dishwasher behind the bar. You had to like take this rack, kick open the little slide door, and like go through the room to the back alley where the dishwasher was, like, and tell people to get out of the way, go get it clean, come it back, put the glasses back.
Wow.
It was insane. All built. This school too, especially like the ABV school, like they don't batch that much, and they definitely made fun of me when I started doing it. But Eric, man, he was such a cool boss to have. He wanted me to know all the whiskeys on the back bar. He wanted me to know my classics. Of course, I had to know the cocktail menu in the back. But beyond that, he was like, dude, like be creative. And we had a chalkboard where you put up your nightly specials. I spent most of the time on that chalkboard really just like looking at old books and putting up classics. I was like really fond of like studying classics. Or if I wanted to like look for new recipes or things that I thought sounded like good pairings, I would look at like Gaz's like recipe stuff online. He had like that huge list of like where he would go, and, you know, and like he loved like a certain cocktail in some place in America, and he'd write it down and he'd put the recipe up online. Because, you know, I mean, when did VinePair start?
2014.
Yeah. So this is like right before that, you know, like there's like not that much stuff online, man. You know, you had to hit the books.
Yeah.
And so I just started looking at weird stuff and seeing like what I could play with. And I started building like a little sense of confidence in like how I could build cocktails. I still kind of have it, actually. Like, but I think it was for people that I met back then. Claire was a big inspiration. Claire was really the front runner of the time in America of like the sustainability movement in the bars. And she showed me the ropes and started a lot ideas for me. But it was in that bar that I met David Barsley, my current business partner.
Okay.
So I was there for a while, kind of like part-time, bopping around. I would pick up another job maybe somewhere else, but I'd always kept my shifts in the hideout. And David Barsley, who is the chef owner of Lazy Bear, which is a 2 Michelin-starred like dining experience in San Francisco in the Mission District as well.
Probably one of the more well-known restaurants on the West Coast, if not in the country at this point.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, they're like, how many years are they now? Because, yeah, they opened in 14.
Yeah, 10. No, as old as us, so 12? Yeah, 12-year-old.
Well, he had it as a pop-up, right? So he ran it for a pop-up for about, I think, 5-6 years before it actually opened. And he had just found a space that he wanted his brick and mortar in. And one of his sous chefs used to come visit me all the time at the hideout. And I would make him like freestyle cocktails. And he's like, dude, you should apply for like being the opening bar director here. And I was like, what is it? You know, he explained it to me. He's like, dude, like 40 people eat at the same time. It's like super fine dining. And I had not yet like worked in like fine dining stuff yet. And I was like, I don't know, but it sounded like an opportunity. So I was into it. So David came in one night and I made him a take on a sherry cobbler, a drink that we still kind of have on our menu. And he was fascinated by it. And at that time, I had become friends with another business partner of mine, Nora First, who's an amazing bartender, consultant on the West Coast. She also, at the time she was working, I think at Lolinda. And we used to bounce drink ideas off her. And I remember like tasting some of her drinks sometimes and just being really fascinated with them because they had such heavy wine content. And that was like, I felt like we were like a small movement, a small little school in the Mission, because the Renaissance like had some like really heavy drinks.
Yeah, very boozy.
Yeah,
the Renaissance was very boozy.
Very boozy and very sour.
Yeah.
You know, so like if it was a spirit forward drink, it was boozy. If it was a sour, it's definitely an ounce of lime juice.
Yeah.
And you're combating that sourness with definitely like rich syrup.
Yeah.
Or a lot, you know? So I tasted some of her drinks and they were just like started to do that. What I called early was like inversion. You know, it was sort of like taking a Manhattan, you know, doing 2 ounces of vermouth instead of 2 ounces of booze, you know, and then putting the base spirit on the back end.
Yeah.
You know, and just like playing the stuff like that way. And I think we really together started to like build a style of cocktails that went well with food. So that was like a great drink to present to David because I'm about to apply for this job that's a tasting menu.
Yeah.
Didn't get hired right off the bat, but as they were working out their opening, I started as the bar director for Lazy Bear maybe 2 months into their opening. And David, it was awesome. It ended up being like a really cool match. David at the time still for Lazy Bear was like really celebrating the bounty of California. And he was the first boss that, you know, looked at me and was like, you need to put as much effort into your drinks that we do into our dishes, and they need to match the ethos as well. So here's a credit card and like go to the market, and go out and forage some of this stuff. And I was like, really? I'm like, well, this is amazing. I actually have a lot of experience with foraging already from my past. And he was like, oh, dude, he's like, I'm crazy about redwood right now. He was crazy about like using redwood in his dishes. And so there was this, we just kind of like saw eye to eye for a second, and we were like, whoa. And I started building my relationships with the farmers at the farmers market at that time. And he was also a total like culinary geek. So he had all these tools for the kitchen. They were using like liquid nitro, and they had dehydrators and all this stuff. Like back then, that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
At the Hideout, we had a blender.
Yeah.
That blender did so much work.
Yeah. Maybe worked sometimes, maybe didn't work other times. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that was my first dose of like working with compression and using ISIs and all this geeky stuff. And so then I started, really diving into that and listening to Dave Arnold and, just like really experimenting with all this stuff. And I think we were kind of the early birds in San Francisco to get like geeky. And that program started getting a lot of attention, and it was very confined to the program that was in place at Lazy Bear, however. So there was nights where maybe 30 of the 40 people eating would get the beverage pairing, and one bar's cranking out all this stuff, but it was still capped at that.
Right.
And David was kind of like, oh, we should do this. We should expand the program like this. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to do all these different techniques on this drink, we're going to need this kind of equipment. And if we're going to get that kind of equipment, we're going to need this space back from the kitchen downstairs. Because there's always that fight in like restaurants and bar programs, like who gets space. And we used to just fight all the time about how the program was going to grow, like in front of all the other managers. And like one time at a manager's meeting, after fighting for a while, like everyone left the meeting and he looked at me and he's like, we should just take this program and open a bar with it so we have more space. And I'm like, that's a good idea.
So that's literally how
it started.
How True Laurel starts.
Yeah. And we went out, and within 2 months we came upon a space.
So did you know you wanted it in the same area?
We were pretty open.
Okay.
We were pretty open, but
the location's great.
Definitely. So yeah,
but I'm sure it's changed a lot from when you were initially in the mission.
So we got that space in mid 2016, and Trick Dog had been open for 2.5 years or so. Flower and Water was there, and there was an old spot called Universal, which was really the spot that sort of put that micro hood on the map. It was like a really big brunch place. It was a very like farm to table, fresh ingredients spot. And it was really the first place that turned that neighborhood into something. It was also an interesting space because we're right around the corner from Trick Dog.
Yeah.
And at the time, like, Trick Dog was like the biggest bar in San Francisco. ABV as well. But we weren't right around the corner from ABV, you know? And
you are for people who have not been, you are literally like 2 doors down.
I think we're like 68 steps.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Something like that. And, and I knew the guys. I knew Josh really well, and Scott, who had maybe parted at that time in the partnership, but Scott was always like really supportive of me, and he got mad at me when I got that space. He's like, I wanted that space. And, getting that space was just really interesting, being around the corner from Trick Dog. They were known as like the most inventive cocktail space. And here I am like opening up another space where like we knew we were going to come in strong. Like we knew we were going to be like, we're going to be like a heavy hitting cocktail destination. But at the same time, stoked to be their neighbors, because I knew that our programs were so different.
Yeah.
We were still working out exactly what we were going to do, but we looked at it under a very simple lens. We were like, people are using fresh ingredients in San Francisco. The real seasonal local sourcing movement that, was started by like the Chez Panisse and like things like this. Like you're starting to see it on dishes, but you're really not seeing it in the drink. You're seeing fresh ingredients, but it's not really taking into account where it's from, how far it's coming, who produced it. And for us, we were like, this is what we want to do. We want to start our cocktail program with the producers, with the soil, with the organics. And that was our focus. And we also knew, being around the corner from Trick Dog, who put so much emphasis on their menu launches, we were like, we're not going to ever launch a menu besides our first one. And to this day, 8.5 years in, we never have done a full menu flip. We have some staples on our menu that have a staple locality to them, things that we can get year round, things that we forage, things that have a local story to them. The My Oh My is one of our like online visually classic cocktails. It's the one with the dark rum float and the cherry sitting in the middle of the cube. We might have been the first person to ever put the cherry in the middle of the cube. I had to say that.
Okay.
But that's a Trader Vic's Mai Tai.
Yeah.
The Mai Tai is from Oakland, so that's a local story. We just took that drink. We're like, Orgeat, well, let's use our favorite producer, Winners, which is, on a good day, 35 minutes away from us, growing organic pistachios. We'll use a pistachio Orgeat, and we'll do a milk wash on it. It's like a very simple drink. But that's like one of our staples. And then the other half of the menu is what we just call seasonals. And a drink might be on for 2 days, a drink might be on for 2 months. And we don't worry about it. And that's how our menu works.
So
it's the chef's special.
Right.
It's the dish of the day.
When you went to open True Laurel, did a lot of the same people come along from Lazy Bear? Did you guys put together a different group of like investors? How did you guys structure that when it's, now obviously you guys are partners in True Laurel, but like you were the employee at Lazy Bear. So what was it like navigating that?
It was interesting. It's the first partnership I've ever done. David is, by trade, he was a lawyer. He wasn't a lawyer, like a practicing lawyer for very long, but he got his law degree. So he's an interesting partner to have, and he laid it out pretty clear about like what sort of partnership he was going to offer me. And my brother also, who has practiced law, I bounced it off him. And, I would say my brother and I we're a pretty reasonable family. And, we weighed the pros and cons, and I'm pretty happy with our partnership. David is spiritually there. He's a little hands off. He's also really busy. He opened up a new restaurant called Juju. He's still running Lazy Bear. And, True Laurel's my baby.
Yeah.
So investor wise though, it was a different time in San Francisco. The boom was heightening, and, the boom, technically the second boom, Silicon Valley boom. So 2012 was when everyone was complaining about the Google buses being in the lanes and, the mission just being overly gentrified. But, money was flowing. So Lazy Bear, with its stature and the bar program getting a lot of attention, we got to pick and choose who we wanted to invest. It was kind of amazing. We actually like went to people's homes, interviewed them, and if we left and we're like, man, that person was cocky, we're like, we don't need their money. Wow. It was a different time.
That's wild.
It was wild. It was a different time. So we had the backing. We knew we could get it. And we've gotten some really cool investors through that process. Team wise though, when we were at Lazy Bear, I had 2 employees, 2 bartenders, and we did everything from all the prep to the execution of service. Those 2 were my first 2 opening bartenders, Will and Allison. They went on to open Viridian in Oakland, which is an awesome bar in Oakland. And my opening team, because we had a lot of momentum, was every young bar star at the time in San Francisco. Probably the most annoying team I've ever had. But none of them lasted too long. But they kind of came in with like, yo, like we'll be here to help you open.
Put this on our resume.
Yeah. Suzu was on the team. Do you know Suzu? He's opening a couple bars here in New York. He was like the star in San Francisco of the time. Gabe Lowe, who went on to open Catbite in Singapore. Yeah. There were so many. It was hilarious. I can't even remember them all.
Was there any like tension here with you taking the team? I mean, obviously you're all together in this, but like you're taking a team from Lazy Bear to open True Laurel. Like, and how much were you then having to work to make sure that you're leaving Lazy Bear in good hands as you open True Laurel?
Yeah, it was an evolving process.
Yeah.
So what our original plan was changed. So originally, I was going to maintain the bar direction at Lazy Bear, and I was during the first half of the build out. The build out of True Laurel was pretty intense. I'll probably never do that again, but I'm very happy with what happened. I still think to this day, just being in there, the design itself kind of stands alone and creates the environment and starts really your experience there. But the design was pretty much done by me, David, and our friend Nick Roberto, who is technically an interior designer, but he's more of like a wacky artist. We brought in no architects. We were playing around with a user-friendly CAD system that we kind of used. A lot of stuff was done on paper. We did everything we could ourselves. And we put brown paper over the windows, and if we had to do something, we made it happen. The build-out process was quite intense, and it was in the middle of that where Will and Allison knew that they were going to be on the opening team, but it was taking longer for us to open than expected. And Will was working a lot, and Will's always been someone who loves designing cocktails. It was at that point where I was like, yo, Will, like, you be the beverage director at Lazy Bear. And he gladly took that over. And so when we first opened, he was kind of doing that part-time and True Laurel part-time. And since then, the reins have passed. Yeah.
Cool. Where's the name come from?
You got another hour. So the build-out was probably 7 months in before we actually had a name, which is crazy. Because the name can shape so much. But we knew we had a couple parameters. We didn't want it to sound like the bars of the time, this and that, barley and leather. I don't know. There was like so many. There was this sort of like masculine conjunction name like you would see a lot. And we wanted it to make reference to what our philosophy was. So it needed to be something that paid homage to the bounty of California. And I was already playing around with the cocktail program, and I knew I was going to do this martini that had a big California Bay Laurel influence. And so I was reading about Bay, and the California Bay Laurel is not the common bay leaf. The common bay leaf is often referred to as True Laurel. And it's somewhat of a Eurocentric view of what the True Laurel is, because there's no history that says one grew before the other. And the California Bay Laurel that grows around San Francisco has been there forever, and that's our True Laurel. So I sort of saw that as this nod to home. And it also made me think of the line of not resting on your laurels, which has kind of become like a big part of our philosophy.
Yeah.
And that comes from the like Greco times of winning a battle, and you'd get crowned with a laurel wreath, probably with their True Laurel.
Yeah.
But it's really played a part in how we've approached this, and it's to kind of always refine ourselves, always look at our service, never think that we've hit what we do, not knowing, like keeping a sense of not knowing, and trying to refine ourselves has been a big part of what True Laurel is.
So, I mean, you opened in 2017, right?
Yes, late.
And I remember there's like a lot of attention, a lot of accolades really early on. Then we have COVID.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to talk a little about the not resting on your laurels, because then feel like out of COVID, at least the perception from New York City, right, is and us looking at the country as a whole is like you came out of COVID and now have become, I think, the most highly regarded bar in San Francisco at the current moment.
COVID kind of made us.
Why? How?
I mean,
because that's rare, right? 2017 to now be 2026. You're almost
totally
10 years old, and you're the most highly regarded bar in San Francisco.
We were getting busier. We definitely were an accoladed bar pre-COVID, but it was all local stuff. We were, and I'm really proud of that part because I think we spent our early years making sure that we were a community bar, making sure that like we fit in by hiring local, by being there, and we really built our local following the years before COVID. COVID hit and we lost everybody. It was different everywhere, but in San Francisco, we lost everybody. We had to pretty much let go of all of our employees. We went down, we cut my salary, my chefs, and my sous chef as low as we could possibly go. And we heard word that they were about to open up the idea of to-go cocktails. And so I looked around and we had this huge program that we were already practicing of clarification, stabilization, Foley batching. And like the doors shut and we were sitting on gallons of cocktail that's ready to be bottled. So we got the bottles in, and the minute that the city said we could sell stuff to go, we did.
So you were like one of the first.
Yes. I think we were the first to-go cocktail ever sold in San Francisco.
Wow.
Like it was the day we could open our doors, we did. And what did we do? It was so crazy. Such a crazy time. We didn't know if people were going to come back, if they were going to be allowed back, but nobody knew anything. And there was so much uncertainty. And so it was at that minute too, because we knew that service was being obliterated, essentially, that we tacked on the service charge. So we were like, okay, we're going to sell these to go. We're going to put a 20% service charge on these. People at the time were happy to pay that service charge. We took that service charge and we put it into an empty pot, to which we messaged our past employees and told them that we're building this pot, and when it gets a little big, we're going to distribute it to you guys, whether or not you're coming back. It was really weird, but
right,
we did it. And we want to stay connected with our employees. We want to know that we were thinking about them, and we wanted to let them know that like we're all going to get through this. And so yeah, we collected this pot, and we like quarterly would just distribute money out illegally, kind of, to our employees.
Wow.
We just wire it to them.
Wow.
Once things started, and then things opened gradually, right? Like then they were like, okay, outdoors. Then they were like, okay, you can deliver cocktails. I had a 1979 Toyota pickup. I'm driving around San Francisco, realizing how far our reach has gone. I'm going to like gated rich communities I've never seen before in San Francisco. And I'm from San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I'm going to this like $1 million like gated community in my rusty 1979 Toyota pickup, like driving through, like ringing the doorbell, dropping off these cocktails and running, seeing a hand come out and grab it, like pull it back in. Like, insane. We did that for a while, but the coolest thing that happened through the process really for San Francisco was the outdoor seating. That was huge for us. And it hasn't been huge for everybody because it's so location dependent.
Yeah.
And for us, we struck gold because we're on a side street. We're the only other restaurant or bar. We're the only one on that street. We get the sunset. There's not a big building in front of us. So it's just like we're getting smacked by sun. We have all these windows that let the sun in. Like sitting outside is nice. Sitting indoors is nice. And it doubled our capacity.
Yeah.
We have like 40 seats out there on a sunny day. So it wasn't until like we fully opened up and we're able to execute the outdoor indoor that we were like, oh, profit. It's crazy.
Right.
And before pandemic, this is the craziest reflection. We were open 7 days a week till 2 a.m., food till 1. Because we wanted to be there. We wanted to be there for the industry.
Yeah.
And like, we look back at those numbers of 11:30 to 1:30, of the kitchen being open, and we were like, man, we were just bleeding money.
Right. There was no reason to be open.
There was no reason to be open. Now in San Francisco, you know, places are starting to open up late again, and it's awesome. But it's kind of worked out the best for us, and we're so busy right now. We're talking about expanding again.
That's great.
We've definitely cut back our hours, but everybody works there full time, 8-hour shifts, and just kind of the vibe of like the neighborhood. You know, like our real beauty time is like when we open the doors at 4 till like 10:30, 11. It's when the sun's coming in. It's when like it changes, when it gets night. It's beautiful. People aren't overly intoxicated yet. Our kitchen is still running on like good steam, you know, and it's just good. So it's like, that's our window.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a dive bar around the corner called Homestead. It's amazing. You know when their window is?
Probably what, 10 to 10
Exactly.
to 2? Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, come to us now. Oh, you want to squeeze in our drink? Sorry, we called last call. Go to Homestead. Go to Trick Dog. They're still open for an hour. They're awesome.
Yeah.
You know, go to Lost Resort. So like, I don't trip on it that much, like that, like we're not open late anymore. And I don't think the community does either. We definitely have like the press, like where people are still there. And I think we could open up a little bit later now.
Yeah.
But it's worked out better than the stretch of the 2 a.m. It's just really taxing.
So do you think though that it's that amount of people that got to know who you were because of COVID, and then the way you sort of changed operations, the sun, all that stuff, that is what's led to the accolades since? Like,
no, I mean, I think it took us a long time, you know, to sort of like, we were doing pop-ups, not to bring up that topic, but it's become such a big part of marketing outside of,
I mean, especially for some of these lists that a lot of bars, I feel like the young, not to say young bartenders, but the bartenders I talk to, like, expect to get in the first year or two of existence in order to make the bar successful. And I think what I'm trying to get from you is like, the bar was successful initially. That wasn't there. Now you're having all this stuff, but the bar's almost 10 years old.
Yeah.
So like, how much has that mattered, and how much are you doing now compared to what you did before?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, one of the beautiful things is that we kind of stuck to our gun, you know, like we've been doing what we've been doing. We've gotten better at it. Our systems have gotten better. A big thing that happened after COVID was that I had been looking for an exterior lab space. True Laurel is kind of what you see. And we used to do all the crazy culinary stuff on top of the bar top and shut it down before service every day. It was really intense. Fighting over space, same issue. In late 22, I found a space a block away for a good price. And we saw it as like a nice future investment. And so now we have an exterior lab space, which is fully dedicated to the bar. So we started pumping up and really keeping up with the volume that was coming in, and we found better operations to do it. That was a huge help. The sort of pop-up movement, I think we started getting attention from outside spaces.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we were doing some pop-ups before the pandemic, but it was like maybe like 3 a year, 2 a year, you know, and maybe hosting 1 a year. But we also did like other pop-ups. We did a lot of kitchen pop-ups and things like that. And then, post-pandemic, it really just, everybody started getting crazy about them. And we were doing more, but I think we started getting attention of some bigger programs. I think like really one of the big ones was when Barney and Alex reached out to me from Little Red Door, because they had just started their farm to table program, and they were looking throughout the world about other programs that were doing it. And there's not that many, actually.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people doing like fresh stuff, but there wasn't like some really true seasonal stuff. We were one of them on the West Coast, you know? And so I can't remember but when we had their pop-up, that was probably the busiest pop-up we've had in a while. It was a line down the block. Wow. It got so much attention. And you know how tight the cocktail community is. I think when people saw that kind of opened the doors. More people started inviting, and we started going more places, and you know, building these relationships. If you're a chill person, you know, when you bop around and you make good relationships with these people, like it really helps. you know?
And also, I mean, I think I'd be remiss to not point out that it also feels like in 2017, you were already doing a style of cocktail that has become very popular in 2026.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the rest of the world and cocktail world caught up to you guys.
Yeah.
But you were just in San Francisco. And like, as we talked about before recording, like there was a big spotlight in San Francisco in the early 2000s. And then for whatever reason, that spotlight kind of disappeared, even though the quality of drinks in San Francisco never disappeared.
And the food.
And the food, right. Never disappeared. And now you're getting the flowers that you probably deserved in 2017. It's just coming now.
Yeah. And how long will it last?
Who knows?
Who cares?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other point, right? It's like, because you'll keep doing your thing and you'll keep having your regulars.
Yeah. That's the goal, right? I mean, and when we became listed or whatever, like that was the hardship as well.
Yeah.
Like, especially the first year that we got listed, like there was a big fear that we were going to lose some of our regulars.
They don't want to wait in the line anymore.
There was a big fear that we were going to lose some of our employees.
Yeah.
Like the few times, you know, and these few times that we've been listed, actually, like that initial pop that you get from it is quite strenuous.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to like build the team up, be like, all right, we're going to be busy. We're going to be busy. And it seems like we all get hurt around that time. We all get sick around that time.
I can't do this.
Like, yeah, it's a lot, you know, but yeah, the first one was a little intense and I was scared that, and we did, you know, we definitely started to get some reviews from regulars that were like, oh man, it's like hard to get in there now. That used to be like my watering hole. Like what's going on? But we've caught up with the system and now we like being busy and it's like, it's more steady to us.
Yeah.
You know, but at first it was definitely a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like is next for you and for the bar?
We're not going to rest on our laurels, man. That's a good question. I mean, I think our style is still evolving.
Yeah.
We've slowly built like a library of things. Like, you know, our program is so, I think it kind of comes from my approach. I'm kind of arty about it. And so we're always doing like wild fermentations or preserving this in some way. And like, we're not doing it because we're like, okay, this is going to go in this specific drink. We do it because we're like, we don't want this to go to waste. Here's a nice way to preserve it. And then like maybe a year later, I come across it. I'm like, oh, how's this taste? If it's bad, we might toss it. But we're keeping an openness to like our techniques, and we're kind of going like back to like a rustic form. I feel like we were like really geeky weighing stuff, and like now like we're like using like weird ferments. You know, I just put a drink on the menu. I think it was one of the best drinks I ever made. And it was literally just day-old citrus that we didn't use, turned into lemonade, and then we pitched yogurt whey to it to ferment it. And then let it go for a week. And then it's just yogurt whey fermented lemonade and raspberry eau de vie. 2 ingredients. Carbonated. Wow. We don't clarify it. It's raspberry lemonade with a little bit of funk. And it's delicious.
It sounds good.
So I think like we're slowly changing our style, and I think I kind of want to stick to what we do, you know, like, but it's always the question. It's like, how do you build a mom and pop bar, become this place that's like touted and looked at, and also develop a space where people can grow and like come through a system and develop? It's really difficult.
Yeah.
But I think we've done a fairly good job of expanding in the time that we've been open, and I'm very proud of my team. And again, like opening the lab, like now we, you know, Tone is like our prep lead, and we've now for the first year after 8 years have an AGM. Like we're still slowly growing like how our system is. And obviously with me, I'm traveling all the time now. And man, 2 years ago when I was traveling, I was always so stressed, and now I feel so much more comfortable with my team running the show. Like they do such a great job.
Awesome.
It's insane.
Really awesome. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We end with 3 questions. So the first question I want to ask is, you can drink one cocktail at True Laurel. What's your cocktail?
The martini.
Why?
It's well, is it like you have to drink it for the rest of your life? Is
No. It's just you can order one. We're going in. You're telling me there's one cocktail you want to order. You're saying it's the martini.
Yeah, you know, I was listening to Alex's and Barney's, you know, like talk with you, and like it was like I was like, this question is going to be hard for me too, because like, yeah, our menu's always changing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just like come across like that new one I just talked about with the lemonade. It's a banger. But I would say like, you know, if you were just like, you got to choose something right now, our Laurel Martini. It's a 50-50 with a touch of Kina. And we put a bay laurel tincture in there with a little bit of Meyer lemon oil on top. It's freezer style. And it's perfect.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, you can open one bar anywhere in the world. You can open a bar anywhere in the world, but you have to return the money to your investors.
You're the investor?
Sure. Anybody. Yeah, I'll give you the money. But yeah, it has to make a return. So you can't tell me it's a beach in the middle of nowhere or in on a desert island somewhere. Where would you open a bar?
It can't have a beach?
It can have a beach. Yeah, totally. This is more of like, where do you think it would be exciting to open a bar?
First of all, I don't think I would sign something where I had to give the return back. I have 2 businesses now, man. Like,
I love that. True. I didn't do that either.
Yeah. But man, my goal is La Paz. La Paz. And you know what? I'm not going to open a bar for you. It's going to have a bar program, but it's going to be really good pizza.
Okay.
You know, there's so much junk pizza there for the tourists, and like chicken wings and like all this crappy stuff. And it's like, bring some really good pie there, have a real simple cocktail program, and be by the beach.
I dig that.
Yeah.
All right. One piece of advice to someone that wants to open a bar.
I would say, this is like advice for life, but you know, just stay inquisitive. Really try to stick to the nature of knowing how things work, because running a bar is full of creativity. It's going to be full of your creative outlet, but there is so much problem solving. And if you don't keep an like inquisitive nature of how things work, then you're going to really struggle, or at least the nature to like lean on people that know how to be inquisitive, you know, because every day is a problem. And it could be from a batch going off to why the refrigeration isn't working to your employees not getting along. You are solving problems all the time. So have an inquisitive nature. Your phone can't answer everything. And just, you know, stay open-minded.
I love that. That's great advice. Nicolas, thank you very much for joining us to talk about True Laurel.
Thank you.
It's been great having you on.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to VinePair's The Buildout. The show is produced, filmed, recorded, and edited by Darby Seasai. Editorial direction from VinePair's editor-in-chief, Joanna Sciarrino. Design of the logo by Marcello Bevilacqua. And thanks to the entire VinePair team, especially my co-founder, Joshua Mallon. I've been your host, Adam Teeter. Until next time, thanks for listening.